Peace and love, black family. This is the Prince of Pan-Africanism, Dr. Umar Johnson, King Kong Consciousness, King Kong Killmonger, Black America's #1 certified school psychologist all time. Brothers and sisters, I'm not going to keep you too long. I only want to do an hour of this, but I want to talk about a topic that's all over the airwaves, and many brothers and sisters have asked me to address it. I don't think I need to speak on it too extensively because I have dealt with this periodically and comprehensively in past face-to-face lectures. So if you go through the hundreds of lectures that I have on YouTube, and of course I have more lectures on YouTube than any living scholar, you will find me deal with this topic more in-depthly. But because it involves a hip-hop phenom, because it involves someone of super stature in the form of our brother Drake from the Six, shout out to Toronto, I wanted to go ahead and speak on this and deal with this. Before I do that, I've received multiple emails from brothers and sisters wanting to participate in the first annual Dr. Umar course of Pan-African Philosophy Leadership Training Colloquium, which will be a face-to-face 12-week, one Saturday every month for 12 months, beginning in September of 2018 and ending in August of 2019, the quadricentennial 400 years of black struggle in America. I've received multiple requests to make it an online course. And I want to be very clear with you, brothers and sisters. I know many of you are addicted to the internet. I am not addicted to the internet. And I understand that liberation struggles will not take place via the internet because the World Wide Web is under the control of the FCC in this country, and it is under the control of other governments in other countries. So it would be ridiculous for me to cover subject matter so important by way of an internet that we do not control. So if you want to participate in the course of African philosophy, it will be in your face. It will not be online. I've already went through this with regards to the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey RBG International Leadership Academy, where many of you have been asking me to make it an online school. And my answer to you now is the same as my answer to you then. Absolutely not. Hell no. There's enough online hoteppers out there. And if you really want to have your child at an online school, I'm sure you can find someone who will oblige you. But I am not that person. I am old school. I am throwback. And I know that doing everything online is nothing but a setup for a setback. The ultimate white man's bait and switch. So I say all of that to say that the course of African philosophy will be face-to-face. The first class will be in Philadelphia on September the 9th. If you are interested in enrolling in the course, you must send your autobiographical letter of interest to me by way of email. That is drumar Johnson at yahoo.com. I repeat, that is drumar Johnson at yahoo.com. I only need one page, maybe two if you want, telling me who you are and why you want to take this course. This course is exclusively for Pan-Africanists. This course is exclusively for those who are unapologetically Black African. This course is not for any of my brothers and sisters who represent other ideologies. I have nothing but respect for you. I stand in solidarity with you. But this is for the global Pan-African nation. This is for those who know they come from Africa, are not interested in giving up their identity for something that they learned on YouTube, but who really understand who they are, where they come from, and what it is that we must do. So again, there will only be 50 people selected. There will only be 50 people selected. I will try to keep it as balanced as possible between young and old, male and female. I will try to keep the 50 persons whom I select as balanced as possible between male and female and young and old. So send in your email. I've been getting a whole bunch I am very impressed with the response for the course. It's going to be powerful. We're going to be going over a lot of classic text, a lot of out-of-print text, a lot of articles you've never seen, a lot of videos that you've never seen, interviews that you've never seen. It's going to be powerful. We plan to go to 12 different cities for each of the 12 Saturdays, one Saturday every month from September until August, and it is 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. It is 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. And I also want you to know, that every class except the first one and the last one, every class except the first and maybe the last, you will be taking a 100 question multiple choice examination to make sure that you are doing the readings and making sure you are comprehending the information. In addition to that, there will be 2 term papers, one for the first half of the class, the first 6 months, and then another term paper, the second 6 month, using APA style, American Psychological Association process for documentation of resources in literature and research. So if anyone ever wanted to get the wisdom, the pure, pristine wisdom of revolutionary Pan-African nationalism, universal African nationalism, African race nationalism, and classical Garveyism, then this is the course for you. You will only be allowed to miss 2 classes. If you miss 2 classes, you will not be invited back for any more. You are only allowed to miss 2 classes. If you miss 2 classes, you will not be invited back. If you fail the course, you will have to retake it. At the end of the program, there will be certificates given out for all of those who have graduated. And we will do this every year. Only 50 persons. You must be at least 18 years old. You can be as old as 1,000, but you must be at least 18 years old, adults only. Again, email your autobiographical letter of interest to Dr. Umar Johnson at yahoo.com. DRUMAR Johnson at yahoo.com. I want to give a shout out to my brothers and sisters in Nigeria right now. I want to give it a shout out to my brothers and sisters in Nigeria right now. I don't know why the Spirit moved me to pick up this staff today, brothers and sisters. But this staff that you see the Prince of Pan-Africanism holding right now, this was gifted to me. This was given to me in Nigeria, in Port Harcourt, during my very first visit to our home continent. I went to Nigeria for the first time as Minister of Education for the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. I was the Minister of Education at that time, and I went to build and organize with our Garveyite brothers all throughout Nigeria. We were in Lagos, Port Harcourt, we were in Enugu State, and many other places. We took a 14-hour bus ride. We took a 14-hour bus ride from Lagos to Port Harcourt. I'll never forget it. One of the most beautiful experiences in my life. As I sat on that coach bus, which was like a Greyhound bus, I got to hear brothers and sisters talk politics. I had a chance to talk politics. It was a very good 14 hours, eating the food, drinking the water, looking at the beautiful chocolate sisters. Looking at the beautiful chocolate sisters of Nigeria. And when I got to Port Harcourt, the brothers and sisters blessed me with some of the traditional Igbo attire. Okay, in Enugu, I had a chance to meet with the son of the great Nnamdi Azikiwe, who gave me a plaque of his father. I met with the son of the great Nnamdi Azikiwe, this man right here, the liberator of Nigeria. This man right here, the liberator of Nigeria. This is we know Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, who attended Lincoln University right here in Pan-African Philadelphia. We all know Kwame Nkrumah, who attended Lincoln University right here in Pan-African Philadelphia. But do you know about the liberator of Nigeria? You're going to learn about him in the course of African philosophy, Nnamdi Azikiwe. Nnamdi Azikiwe. I met his son, and he presented me with this plaque of his father. He presented me with this plaque of his father. Then he took me outside to the grave of his father. He took me outside to the grave of the great Zeke, Nnamdi Azikiwe. Took me to the grave of Nnamdi Azikiwe. And he participated in a traditional African Nigerian Igbo, okay, ceremony, a brief ceremony to call on the ancestors and call on his father. And he asked his father, the great Nnamdi Azikiwe, to look out for me, Dr. Umar Johnson, the Prince of Pan-Africanism. Oh, yes, he did. And he made me eat some of the great cola nut. My Igbo brothers and sisters know what that is. My Yoruba brothers and sisters know what that is. My Hausa brothers and sisters know what that is. Shout out to the entire Nigeria, not just Igbo land, but Yoruba land, Hausa land, and all the lands. We must unite. Nigeria must unite. And so, brothers and sisters, he gave me this plaque. And the brothers and sisters in Port Harcourt gave me this staff. I believe they told me this is the walking stick of the Igbo people. I forget exactly how they described it, but they gave me this. They dressed me up in traditional Igbo attire, brothers and sisters. That was 2005. So I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk, brothers and sisters. Everybody want to be Pan-African today. Everybody want to be Pan-African today, but you got to walk the walk, and there is no Pan-Africanism without repatriation. There is no Pan-Africanism without repatriation. So, brothers and sisters, I've been also getting some texts about my upcoming speaking events. It doesn't look like Long Island, New York is going to work. We had trouble finding venues. A couple pastors were scared. A couple pastors were scared. A couple pastors were scared to host the Prince of Pan-Africanism. Although we assured them the subject matter would focus on the war against black boys. We assured them the subject matter would focus on the school to prison pipeline. We assured them the subject matter would focus on the psycho-academic Holocaust. So if you live in New York City, particularly Long Island, because I need to get to Nassau County, okay, any other county in Long Island, if you know of a place, it doesn't have to be a church. If you know of a place that can hold 300-400 Africans that is not afraid to let the most prominent black school psychologists in America come and educate our parents and imbibe our community with the spirit of revolutionary Pan-African nationalism, then please send them their way. Orlando, I'm working on you. Columbus, Georgia, I'm working on you. Phoenix, Arizona, I'm working on you. All right? But if you know of anyone in Long Island who would be humble enough and loving of our people enough to allow the Prince of Pan-Africanism to come in and speak and raise the consciousness. Remember, I'm not the YouTube scholar. I don't talk about stuff you can read in a book. I give you information you can't find in any book. I don't talk about stuff you can read in no book. I give you information you can't find in no book. I don't deal with random facts. We got too many people. They just spitting out random facts. You got to ask yourself, how does this help us get free? How does this help us give black men jobs? How does this help us in hunger amongst black children? How does this help us improve security for black women? One of the things I'm going to teach in the course of African philosophy is pragmatism. We have to become politically pragmatic. We have to become politically pragmatic. If it doesn't benefit the freedom struggle, I don't want to hear about it. If it doesn't benefit the freedom struggle, I don't want to hear about it. I don't care if the black woman is God, the black man is God, who's right, the Hebrews or Moors, who's right, the Nation of Islam and the God in earth. Respect to all those organizations, but we ain't got time for that. I'm not debating Garveyism with nobody. But the one thing I can say about Garveyism, the one thing I can say about the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey is he didn't give us an organization. He didn't give us a church. He didn't give us a religion, and he damn sure ain't give us the Bible or the Quran. He gave us a government for African people. Marcus Messiah Garvey is the only leader who brought a government for African people to bring about liberation, to govern ourselves, to become an independent people. That's what matters, not Bibles and Qurans. When are we going to wake the hell up and deal with the real problems affecting black people? But I digress. Let me take a sip. Let me take a sip and let's get into Blackface Drake today. And my brother Drake, you're probably tuned in. You're probably tuned in, brother. You will not be disrespected in this video. You will not be disrespected in this video. This video is not about disrespecting you. To all my biracial African brothers and sisters out there, to all my so-called mixed-raced Africans, those of you who have European or other non-African parents, you will not be disrespected in the next 45-minute seminar. I didn't come here to disrespect you, but to challenge you. And also to make you understand that you are a member of the global African family. But you can use that privilege and you can lose that right by not identifying with your race. See, the situation that went viral all over the internet was the fact that Drake, one of the top hip hop artists of biracial, mixed African, Jewish ancestry, black father, white mother, from what I understand, years ago, he participated in a photo shoot, and I'm summarizing here, but years ago, he participated in a photo shoot where he actually allowed himself to be painted black-faced with the big red lips, a throwback caricature to the days of Jim Crow and the minstrel shows, which were born in the days of the Civil War, when white men dressed up like black people to imitate stereotypical and exaggerated forms of cultural expression of the enslaved Africans. It was a mockery and it was a disgrace. And as times went on, white people allowed black people to put black face on and big red lips. So what the whole purpose of the minstrel was to exaggerate the lack of humanity of African people. The whole purpose of the minstrels was to create a triviality out of black cultural expression by exaggerating it, animalizing it, and showing how impossible it was for black people to be humans, to be civilized. The whole purpose of the minstrels was to codify black people as an inferior race of beings. So when Drake put that blackface on, and he's not the first to do it, you had regular Africans who were not of mixed race who put on the blackface. So Drake was not the first to do it, but because he's a member of the hip hop generation, a movement created by blacks, and because he professes to be down with the culture and swagalicious, for Drake to do it, in the eyes of many people, it represented a significant contradiction, which led many to believe that he may have been worthy of being called a hypocrite. To be a representative of a black cultural expression, hip hop, but yet at the same time allow yourself to be abused or allow yourself to be used to abuse African people by going so far as to paint your face black and put on big red lips, thereby reinforcing the stereotype that black people are somehow animalistic, ignorant, and not worthy of being treated as equals. Now, I understand that Drake spoke to this situation, and I'm not even interested in dealing with him speaking to the situation. But what I do think this situation calls for is an open conversation on the politics of biracial Africans, because we are living in a time when America right now has an agenda to biracialize the entire black America. America right now has an agenda to biracialize the entire black America. They want everyone to look like Steph Curry. They want everyone to look like Mariah Carey. They want everyone to look like Klay Thompson. No disrespect to any of them. No disrespect to any of them. I'm dealing with the politics. Don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. Why would a minority group want to increase the size of the majority group? Why would a minority group, white people, want to increase the numerical size of the people who already outnumber everyone else in the world, Africans? Why would they want to do that? Well, first of all, we have to look at the philosophy of white supremacy. We have to look at the classical foundations of white supremacy. And when you look at the classical foundations of white supremacy, they have always bred black people for their own purposes. Can I get an ashe? If you following me right now, give me a black fist. If you following me, if you understand where I'm going, give me a black fist. White people have always bred black people for their own purposes. Why are we surprised? This is nothing new. They have always bred black people for their own purposes. Even before slavery, when you study the Crusades, the Christian Crusades, the Islamic Jihad into Africa, when you study Alexander the Great, when you study Napoleon Bonaparte, you will find that they had soldiers in those armies who were responsible for the conquest of African peoples, Africans in the Caribbean, Africans in Africa, Australia, Central South Pacific, Central and South America, they had white soldiers whose job was to impregnate the black women. The white soldiers' job was to impregnate the black women, not because they wanted more black people. Genetics is the extermination of Africans. They didn't want more black people, but they needed more soldiers. They needed a numerical majority. And what do you do when you don't have a numerical majority and the women of your community have a problem getting, holding, and keeping babies? You do what? You reproduce with the oppressed woman. You take the black woman and you inject your evil serum into her, and she produces a biologically African child, but not an unapologetically African child. I said the black woman pregnant with the white man's seed will create a biologically African child, but not a psychological African child. So what you have is a baby who has the DNA of the mother, the dominant African DNA, but he has the psychological mind and conditioning and loyalty to the father. And loyalty to the father. And loyalty to the father. That's what's going on in America now. Let's create a virus amongst black people that will mutate and kill itself. Listen to me. They said we're going to create a cancer, a certain type of a people with a certain type of a mentality who will be able to destroy black people without white folks even being around. So they deliberately create the mixed race African as a weapon against the rest of us. They deliberately create the mixed race African as a weapon against the rest of us. But let me clarify. Because right now, some of my mixed race African brothers and sisters are saying to yourself, are you throwing me under the bus, Dr. Umar? I support you. I rock with you. No, I'm not, brothers and sisters. No, I'm not. I'm only throwing you under the bus if you are guilty of loyalty to the oppressor. I'm only throwing you under the bus if you refuse to accept your African racial origin. I didn't say you deny your mother. If your mother is white, that's your mother. You love her. If your father is white, that's your father. You love him. But you must also be clear politically that although this is my father, it's my father. He's your father, but he is not a member of our race. And this is where biracials get confused. This is where biracials get confused. This is where biracials get confused because what happens a lot of the confusion between the mixed race African and the unmixed African is the fact that the mixed race African wants their mother and father to be exempt. You want your mother and father and white brothers and sisters to be exempt from being included in with all white people, and we will grant no such exemption. We will grant no such exemption. I need my mixed race Africans to hear me. I need my mixed race African brothers and sisters to hear me because I claim you. If you claim me, I claim you. It's that simple. I don't judge you no differently than I judge any other African. I don't judge you any differently than I judge any other African. It's a two-pronged question for me to vibe with you. Number one, are you biologically black? And number two, are you psychologically black? Do you identify with your race? And if there's any mixed race African out there who says, yes, I know I got a white mother. Yes, I know I got a white father. I love them. I respect them. But that's my personal business. That's my personal business. When it comes to the politics of liberation, I will stand shoulder to shoulder with Dr. Umar Johnson. If that's you, I have no problem with you. One of the greatest Pan-Africanists who ever lived. Two of the greatest Pan-Africanists who ever lived. Bishop Henry McNeil Turner. Bishop Henry McNeil Turner. The first black chaplain in the U.S. Army. One of the first blacks elected to public office during Reconstruction. The black man who called the United States flag a filthy rag. The black man who said God was black. The first man to say God was black was of mixed race. So I don't have no problem with you having a white mom, white dad, because you're not responsible for how you get here. But I need biracial Africans to understand that you are obligated to live the same code as all other Pan-Africanists. And that code is You do not date white. You do not lay white. You do not sleep white. You do not impregnate or be impregnated by white. You will marry black. You are obligated to the same code. And the fact that your mother is white or your father is white does not exempt you from being totally 100% committed to the freedom struggle. In other words, you have to develop the courage and the commitment. Mixed race Africans have to develop the courage and the commitment to tell mommy and daddy, I love you, but you are white. And because you are not a member of the African family, you cannot come to this meeting. Because you are not a member of the African family, you cannot participate in this struggle. Because you are not a member of the African family, I love you, but my love for you is personal. African liberation is political. And I cannot betray my people by letting you in, mommy and daddy, because although you love me, mommy and daddy, although you love me, there is no proof that you love all black people. Although you love me, white mom, white daddy, there's no proof that you love all black people. And because of that, I cannot risk the liberation struggle of my people because of my personal petty emotions about my mother and father. And that's facts. And that's facts. See, for Drake to put on that blackface, for Drake to put on that blackface, for Drake to put on that blackface, it suggests to some degree that he really did not recognize himself to be black himself. See, for a mixed race African to paint his face black, it says subconsciously that I'm a few degrees different from the rest of them. And that's the problem with the biracial consciousness, because it brainwashes mixed race Africans into thinking that they're not black, but at the same time, you'll never be accepted as white. So you end up living your whole life as a people in between because you don't want to be what you are, and you'll never be accepted by what you want to be. And what I find so ironic, about, see, let me back up. So we talked about the two questions. Are you biologically black and are you psychologically black? That goes for you if you're mixed race. That goes for you if you're blue, black, purple. That goes for you if you're hot peanut butter. That goes for you if you're butter almond, if you're caramel, if you're mocha latte, if you're butter pecan, if you're syrup, if you're brown sugar. I don't care what complexion you are. You must be biologically and psychologically African. You must be biologically and psychologically African. And if you are both, I have no problem with you. If you biracial, you want to be in my course, but you better be biologically African and psychologically African, I will consider you. But the issue is we're dealing with the fact that you are split psychologically. Nobody's split about who you are but you. See, whenever America wants to recruit blacks against blacks, whenever America wants to recruit blacks against blacks, the first thing it does, and you can study your history, whenever white folk want to recruit black folks to be used against other black folk, they create a new racial category. Facts. Study history. In the 1970s, when African Puerto Ricans and African Cubans and Africans from Dominican Republic came to America, they didn't want to be labeled with African Americans. They were calling themselves white. Blue, black, purple Africans with nappy hair was showing up from Cuba and Puerto Rico, calling themselves white. Some of them still do it today. And America said you cannot call yourself white because you got to be Anglo-Saxon to be white. They didn't even let the Irish and the Jew and the Italian be white until 1940. So in 1970, the United States government created a new category for blacks called Hispanic. In 1970, the United States government created a new category for blacks called Hispanic. So anybody with African blood who was too ashamed to be black, I said anybody with African blood who was too ashamed to be black could call themselves Hispanic instead of African. And we still got a lot of African Puerto Ricans and Afro-Cubans who still want to call themselves white. They hate their black blood, but you practice an African religion. You hate your African heritage, but you practice in Ifa, and you practice in Santeria, and you practice in Palo, and you practice in Voodoo, and you practice in Lukumi. How the hell are you going to take our religion but say you don't belong to us? Give us our religion back. Anybody in the Caribbean who practice an African religion and got a problem calling themselves African, give us our goddamn religion back and go with your oppressor. And go with your oppressor. Oh, yes, my brother. It is that simple. Oh, it's very simple. It is extremely simple. You are either with me or you are against me. It's very simple. This whole thing is very simple. The message to the biracial Africans is it's time for you to come on home and claim your heritage. Claim your great African divinity. And the reason why it's time for you to do that is because they will never accept you anyway. What I find most interesting about biracial Africans is you will go out of your way to let the world know that you are mixed race. You will go out of your way to let the world know you are mixed race. But you fail to understand that the white man has a one-drop rule. Listen to me, biracial Africans. Listen up. What the hell is a biracial African? See how they play these games? Half black. No such thing as being half black. African DNA dominates all of the DNA. Once you are mixed with us, you are us biologically. But I will never claim you until you become psychologically African. Ain't no half black. How you going to take dominant genes and mix it with recessive genes and get half black? If the gene is recessive, which means it cannot stand the power or resistance of the dominant gene, then the dominant gene takes over the recessive and that baby becomes an African. I'm half black. Ain't no such thing as half black. You don't mix white milk with chocolate milk and get half chocolate milk. When you ever see half chocolate milk? What kind of milk is this? It's half chocolate. Ain't no such thing as half chocolate. It's either chocolate or it ain't. It's either chocolate or it ain't. Everything is defined by the majority DNA. Everything is defined by the majority DNA. And the reason why mixed race Africans, okay, YouTube playing. YouTube look like it's freezing a little bit. What's going on with YouTube? YouTube, y'all there? You might have to come over to Facebook. I left Instagram out the equation. Let me pop up Instagram one time. I just looked at my phone. Guess what time it is? I just looked at my phone. Guess what time it is? It was 11:11. Perfect synchronicity. That means the universe is in alignment with my message this morning. That means the universe is in alignment with my message. What happened on 11:11? What happened on 11/11? The great black prophet of Pan-African liberation, Reverend Nat Turner, on my birthday, and on George Jackson's martyrdom day. August the 21st, Nat Turner and George Jackson. On November the 11th, 1831, Prophet Nat Turner was executed. 11/11, because Nat Turner rides with the prince. Nat Turner rides. I'm going to try to get YouTube back. Let me see what's going on with YouTube. They playing. Let me see. See if I can get YouTube back. I'm trying to get YouTube. YouTube, I think they might have. What's going on? Come on, can I come on back? Trying to get YouTube back, Facebook. Bear with me. That's the white man playing games. I think they done killed my YouTube. YouTube been acting up lately. YouTube has been acting up lately on the prince. And I don't know why. Can y'all still hear me on YouTube? Let me try this one more time. Can't believe they did that to my YouTube. They don't want the truth. Let me do this. It says live. How do I go back to it? It keeps saying live, but then it say the stream is offline. I'm going to go new again. I'm going to go new again. I'm going to go new again. Hold on, Facebook. And then I'm going to finish it up by 12. We're going to try this again. Politics of by okay. All right. All right, we back. YouTube, we back. I started a new read. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Let me get back to what I was going to say. The reason so many biracial Africans don't want to call themselves black or African is because you think by